This episode of the Party Loaded podcast is proudly sponsored by Audible.com. Check out their awesome catalogue of audiobooks with over 180,000 titles to choose from. And be sure to grab a free audiobook on us and support the show by visiting audibletrial.com/endgame.
Let's party.
Hello everybody, welcome to Wednesday the 3rd of October. It is of course Party Loaded, the Party Loaded podcast for everything great in the world of video games. Here to give you your weekly hit of that. My name is Luke Retallick. Now, we've got a lot of fun content to get through tonight, and it is well and truly peak game season, so we're going to have to dispense with a few of the usual pleasantries. So to that end, here's Jam. Hi, Jam.
Hi.
Yeah. What's going on?
Intros.
Cool. All right. Good answer. Here's Adrian.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
It's been a while.
Yes,
It has.
From your travels. We'll get you to do a little recap of that in a sec. So Christian Polster Brown is here as well, of course.
Howdy. Yep,
hello.
me.
And Mr. Game Dad, Matt Diet, on deck.
Yes, hello, it is Matt.
It is Matt. It is good. So hang on, I'm losing count here. We've got me, we've got Jam, we've got Adrian, we've got Matt, we've got Christian, we've got Mimo. Imogen, hello.
We do. It's a Mimo.
Yay.
So this is a record-breaking show
friends.
tonight. We've actually got 6 people on for, I think, the first time ever. I'm
Party
pretty sure.
overloaded.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first time you've had all hosts in a long time, and I'm just crashing the party for the lols.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We just didn't want to miss you.
Yeah, that's it. No, it's been a little while. It's not been super long, but it's been long enough. And there is a particular thing that prompted us to sort of get your thoughts tonight. So we'll get onto that a little bit later when we talk Party Game of the Month.
This actually means that we have enough people to stage our own Marvel Civil War movie.
Oh,
Perfect. That's how many people we currently have on the podcast. All the
Sacred
characters.
witch.
We'd make a sick Blu-ray cover.
yeah. I think actually getting us all onto a show at one time is one thing. Getting us all in one place for a combined photograph to do that would be a whole other challenge in itself.
Good luck.
Yep. That'd be very,
That's why
very difficult.
CG exists, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And Photoshop. So, yeah. All right, well, everyone's on deck. We got heaps of things to get through tonight. Now, normally we sort of do the thing and welcome the guest to chat about what's going on lately first. But Mimo, I hope you don't mind. I'm just going to throw to Adrian tonight because he has been away doing something a little special that I think he would like to share. So, Adrian, your trip away, a bit of a contest you're involved in. Do you want to give us a bit of a rundown how things went? What's going on?
Sure. So I am in a barbershop quartet, and earlier this month I competed in the Australian National Barbershop competition, or it was actually a convention. It was like a 5-day convention with different heats and different categories of competitors. So I competed in my own little quartet, which is called Gambit, and then I also competed with a larger barbershop chorus composed of about 30 to 40 guys, and they're called Vocal Evolution. And my little barbershop quartet was hoping to crack the top 10, the national top 10, and we did it. And we were very, very excited.
Yay.
So thank you. Yeah, it was a huge deal for us. So, I mean, we set the goal early on and said, if we just make the top 10, we'll be ecstatic. And we weren't really expecting to. And then on the Thursday night at the gala dinner, they announced the top 10 in no particular order. They don't tell you exactly what your score is until after the finals. And they slowly read out the quartets one by one. And they got to number 6, and I turned to our lead singer, Damien, and I said, no, we haven't done it. And then they made a mistake, and our name appeared on the screen before they read us out, and we just lost our minds. Oh, no. And it was...
Classic.
There's actually a video taken from a distance of someone, like, videoing the entire gala dinner, and you can see a little guy in a purple shirt jump out of his chair and scream. And that's actually me. So
Excellent.
We
it
must
was very
find
exciting.
this video.
So, yeah, and aside from that, I've just been doing a lot of travelling with work. So I've basically been AWOL for pretty much a month. But yeah, the barbershop comp was certainly a highlight and an amazing experience for me. So yeah, very exciting.
I'm very happy that your barbershop quartet was in fact a cut above the rest. That's great.
Oh, there you go.
I've been waiting a lot to
Jeez.
use that.
Really?
I didn't miss that one for that
Yeah.
one, mate.
Well,
That's the one.
Yeah, I had options. That's the one I settled on. I regret it. Anyway, so
I think we all regret it.
yeah, look, the night is young. Let's just not hang our laurel on that.
Yeah,
Anyway.
let's not wait for number 2.
No. So Mimo, what's going on?
Yes.
What's the haps in your world at the moment?
So many things, so much life and actual life adventures. Lots of real life gaming with you nerds, which is good. You want to talk about gaming or just in general?
Let's talk about. I mean, given that we are a video games podcast, let's
I
crack
didn't
that
win
seal
any
and talk
national
about
contests
games.
or anything like that. Like nothing that exciting. Haven't released a video game. None of that.
All right, what have you been playing? Well, let's crack into that because I think we've all got
I
quite a few.
mean, the dangerous topic, which we'll just skim right over the top, is WoW.
Yeah.
So obviously, as reported previously by Luke, and it's not incorrect. I did crumble very easily to resubscribing to WoW. But the end of that story is I just yesterday cancelled my subscription. So not going to get me this time, Blizzard. Not going to get me this
That's
time.
a record, right?
Yeah. Usually I let it run for like 6 months or so before I remember that I've got to cancel it. I really enjoyed it. It's been good, but I've got a month. I've got until PAX to finish that stupid area, Luke. But Team Sneaky Lizard will rise again, I'm sure.
There's one zone that Imogen and I have attempted like 3 times to make some progress in, and every time we go in there, we feel like we do 100 quests and still don't move the bar at all. So
4 out of 7 chapters of that stupid area, and it's every time we finish a quest, I'm like, is this it? Nope, still says 4 out of 7. And then they'll be like, oh, by the way, thanks for doing all these horrible things. Would you like to bake pies for me? Oh, man.
If it's the zone I'm thinking of, I absolutely know the problem. And the thing is that you're completing like 4 chapters at the same time.
that's
Yeah, we
probably
got that sense. We were like, maybe if we go find this spanner for this person, that's at the end of a chapter. What's happening?
I almost wish at this point they just took that number away so we didn't actually know how little towards that would make progress, because the quests themselves have been fine. It's just that number is hanging over our heads like, just
Exactly.
a unattainable
Until
goal.
you said, like, oh, we're still at 4 or 7 chapters, I was blissfully unaware, like, running around being a lizard and killing bugs and all sorts of stuff. And then suddenly I realized we weren't making any progress.
Yeah.
But it's been good. But it's for me. It's when other people stop playing, and I had some other people who I was playing with who stopped playing. So that sort of pitters out for me a little bit. And other than that, Mario vs. Rabbids on Switch.
Yay.
Oh my gosh, that game is so good, and I held off for so long getting into it, and I do not regret the purchase at all. That game is so good. Yeah. It's incredibly good. So recommended by Simo endlessly for my love of Mario and also turn-based and strategy. So it's really good.
Yeah.
And with that, I sort of purchased that, and then there was this avalanche of Switch updates and things coming to Switch, and Switch is great, and I'm really happy that I've got a Switch at this stage. It's working out really well for me.
Yeah,
It's awesome.
It's amazing given that for the year this year, Switch hasn't had any sort of big banner titles like it did last year with the Mario and Zelda and all that kind of stuff. This year it's been pretty much a lot of RPGs and Smash and Pokemon to look forward to at the end of the year. But apart from that,
And
it's
the
just been
Indie Machine as well.
Yeah, it's just been a steady stream of indie content, and people just seem to be like gobbling it up. It's still doing great. Yeah.
And Switch Online has been a bit of a revelation. I've been playing some of the old school games. It was not a hard sell for me to just buy straight up the year subscription, and we'll see how that runs. But I think that's awesome value by comparison to some of the other ones.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been really awesome. And Pokemon Go is the only other thing that I'm keeping up with, because there's a Pokemon game later in the year. I'm not really sure how it's going to help me, but people keep telling me it's going to help me, so I'll keep like sending out those gifts and spinning one stop a day. I'm part of that Discord WhatsApp chat on Pokemon Go with all of our friends, and everyone is doing a lot more than me in the game.
Yeah.
But I appreciate the handy tips, Christian and Adrian. That's super handy.
Yeah, these
I've
two
got
have been
3
good.
7-kilometer eggs. I just don't have the app open when I walk or run or do anything,
yeah.
so they're just sitting there at like half completion. So
You need a Go Plus.
missed my
That's how I
opportunity.
do it.
is that the like the Fitbit version?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I left mine at the barbershop convention, so there's probably some lucky barbershopper running around with my little
no.
Pogo Plus. Oh, well.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh well. Well, Adrian, what have you been playing? Let's go to you next.
Yeah, okay. Well, obviously, the big one is Mega Man 11. So,
Glad you brought that up. All right, go on.
Yeah.
What are you thinking?
I really like it, and I think one of the best things about it is that it's hard as balls, man. Like, I was expecting, like, after Mega Man 9 and 10, they were sort of a retro 8-bit, well, not 8-bit, they went back to the original sort of NES-style graphics and gameplay, and those were hard, but Mega Man 11 takes it to a new level, I think, and the main reason is the new mechanics they've introduced, which is called this double gear system. So during the game, you can flick between these two sort of temporary states. One's a red gear and one's a blue gear. The red gear makes you really powerful for a short amount of time, and a meter slowly fills up, and then once it hits the max, it kind of burns out and you can't use it until it cools down again. And then the blue one has the same sort of burnout cooldown mechanic, but it slows down time. And because I've been playing Mega Man games all my life, it actually takes a lot of effort to remember to use that gear system, and it makes the game a lot harder until you realize that it's kind of intrinsic into getting through certain stages of the game.
Oh, yes.
So there'll be like tons of like challenging traps and rooms and platforming puzzles that are super hard. And then you're like, oh, wait a minute, that's right, I can slow down time. And then once you do that, you're like, oh, okay, this is marginally easier, but it's still really hard. So, but it's obvious that there are certain areas of the game that technically you could get through without ever using the time slow mechanic. But I think based on the difficulty, it was intended that you're meant to use it more often than not. And that takes a bit of getting used to, because normally with a Mega Man game, all you really have to worry about is running, jumping, and shooting. So that makes it a bit trickier. And I really also like that the boss fights have kind of multiple stages to them as well. So in previous Mega Man games, that wasn't really a thing. The bosses had their set pattern of attack, and they would just do that until you killed them or they killed you. In this Mega Man, the bosses actually change up their styles, and they sort of, once you take down certain amounts of health, they'll actually change in some ways as well, and their moves will alter, so it keeps you on your toes and keeps things fresh and surprising, which is great. The art style is good. Whether or not I prefer a classic 2D, undecided, but I do enjoy it. And there's some platforming sections in that game which are just crazy hard. There's a particular section where you have to jump in between these huge ice blocks, and there's just like a massive death pit below you, and there's no way to get through that apart from getting good, and I died so many times. But I like that because, that's that roguelite sort of element that I enjoy of, die and try again.
Definitely.
Overall, very good. I like it. But I agree with, it's not so much a spoiler, but a lot of people are saying don't expect anything crazy new, which I think is true. But I guess that's fine for the price point because it's only about $40. So it's not breaking the mold, and it's not introducing anything groundbreaking. You're not going to play through the game and be, surprised greatly by anything that upsets the apple cart and changes the formula too much.
Sounds like a true numbered Mega Man sequel.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's
like,
good.
It's just slightly iterative on the formula with this gear system, but otherwise playing it safe.
The gear system blends into the narrative as well. Like, it's actually a central part of the plot of the game. So it makes sense to be there. I don't know
if you could say plot.
Well, I mean, not having played through all of it yet, I can't really comment too much on that, but it certainly is a big part of the intro story. So
yeah. I that's one part that I don't enjoy. I think the story is just kind of classic weak Japanese side-scrolling. Like, it's no better than an arcade game story, like, that used to put used to put like a 20-cent piece in the machine and get a little bit of dialogue at the start. It's fine, but I am still kind of hungry for like a new Mega Man Legends or something that really kind of would flesh out, a brand new Mega Man universe. But 11's good. The only thing I'm actually slightly disappointed in is I really like the designs of the new Robot Masters, the bosses, but they are very derivative of past Mega Man bosses, which is which is kind of what they always do, but there's a fire guy, there's an ice guy, there's a big guy that is a construction-looking robot, which has been done 100 times. So it would be nice. There are some nice new ones, like there's a bounce man who's like rubber, but he's a lot like Clown Man from Mega Man 8. So all the bosses are very similar. But I mean, at this point now, there's 88 Mega Man bosses over all the different series.
They're getting up into Pokemon.
Yeah, they're bound to run out eventually. Although if there was a Mega Man Go, I'd be very excited to run around catching Mega Man bosses. That would be cool.
Jesus, that would be interesting. Yeah, like, I pretty much echo what you're saying. I think there's two things that make the game harder, and it is super, super hard. One is the gear stuff that you mentioned, because they've definitely ramped up the difficulty to match that new ability. Like, yeah, there are things in those levels that would not have existed in a normal Mega Man game where you don't have the gears to get past them. But I think you're right. Like, it should be theoretically possible to finish the entire game without touching that mechanic. And I've read a few reviews where the reviewers have actually said that they forgot about the mechanic completely until near the end of the game, and they've been playing it like on balls hard mode. And I'm like, well, good on you. But the other thing is the levels are longer too. Like, have you noticed that? They're significantly
they are longer. Yeah, and that's good. There's that's the other thing that they've added is they did it in the Mega Man X series where like you'll play through the level and you'll have to fight like a mini boss in the middle of the level. They did that in X2, 3, 4, all the way up to 8. Yeah, but they never did it in the original Mega Man series, and they've done it in 11, which is a nice addition. I think it's really nice just to have more robots in the game, having more enemy designs, and the mini bosses are quite cool and fun to fight. So I like that they've added that in.
Yeah. I made one discovery today, which it sounds like you may not have. I'm curious whether this will shake things up for you if you didn't know this. So you know the little, you pick up these little bolts throughout the game, which are actually used as a currency. It's not just a score thing. And you can actually return to Dr. Light's lab and buy upgrades or like sort of one-use items that you can actually use when you play as you collect those things. So you can buy extra lives, you can buy like energy tanks, you can buy weapon bar refills, all that sort of stuff. And you can actually use them during the level if you start getting your ass whooped. So
I have been doing that. That mechanic was actually introduced in Mega Man 7. So, but then it dropped out in 9 and 10. They didn't do it, but 7, 8, and now 11. They have had that mechanic where you collect a currency and then can buy upgrades. So that's not entirely new. I feel like some of those upgrades are a bit overpowered, though. They do change the way you function dramatically. And I almost didn't want to purchase them because I felt a bit like cheating. Like one of them just means you charge your Mega Buster without having to hold the button down. It just constantly charges. Yeah. And like I feel like that's kind of removing. Insane. Yeah, it's stuff like that. And it's really, you can buy it almost immediately. It costs very little. And there's another one where when you use the blue gear to slow down time, normally you're also slowed down. And there's an upgrade that is just as cheap, where it just means you don't slow down, but everything else does.
Oh, wow.
So,
okay.
Yeah. And it just makes things a little too easy in some cases, but overall, still difficult.
Control over time, making things a little easy, totally sounds like a thing. That's crazy. Yeah. Wow.
But overall, very happy. I just love that there's a new Mega Man game. I love that we have more Mega Man.
Yeah. Nice. All right. Christian, you've been doing some Tomb Raidering. I saw you on the other night, and I thought you were playing Shadow of the Tomb Raider as I was playing it at the same time. But no, you were actually playing through Rise. So
that's right, yeah. So I bought Rise way back when, just shortly after it came out on PC, but never actually played it. And then with the attention that Shadow's been getting, I thought I'd finally download it and give it a shot. I'm maybe like 4 or 5 hours in, not a huge way. And I don't really have much to say about it. It feels like I can't even remember what's different about it to the original game. Like it feels exactly the same, like gameplay wise to the first Tomb Raider reboot. The story is pretty like typical pulp adventure story, like Lara becoming too obsessed with getting treasures and has to get revenge for her father. Blah 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 blah. Yeah. It's all pretty basic. And yeah, it's fun. I'm probably going to complete it, but I don't know. It's not wowing me.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I'm at the point with Shadow now where the story has really kicked into gear, and I'm enjoying it a lot more than Rise. So you might have a better one to look forward to, which is good.
I'll probably have a break after I finish Rise before I start Shadow, so I make sure I don't get too fatigued on it. But I'll get to it.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. The stuff that I mentioned in previous episodes with Lara not being a particularly likable character, happy to report that they actually do sort of really lean into that narrative, and it does pay off later down the track. So it's not sort of just forgotten about. Yeah, it is a core part of what goes on. There is one bit that I just got through, which she gets really, really pissed and basically turns into Arnie in Commando and just goes fucking mental. And it is the coolest thing I've ever seen her do. Like, she literally is gunning dudes down, screaming, "You're fucking dead!" I'm just like, wow, this is a side I've not seen before, and I like it. So, yeah, that's good. It's got some moments to look forward to, that's for sure. So, yeah.
Cool. I was just going to quickly cover off the only other game I've been playing, which is like a mobile game that I started playing called Evangelion Dawn. I'm a huge Evangelion fan, which Adrian can attest to. It's like my favorite like franchise.
Understatement.
My favorite franchise in history is Evangelion, which is an anime from the 90s. If anyone doesn't know,
Let it be known that Christian travelled to like the remote town in Japan that scenes of the animation were loosely based off. That's how dedicated Christian is to Evangelion.
Yeah. So I'm a super fan, and this game is really only for super fans because it's really crap. But it's like been barely translated from Japanese. There's like spelling mistakes. There's certain menus where they've just forgotten to translate it, and it's still in Japanese. Awesome. The gameplay is just like a side-scrolling beat 'em up where you just kind of mash some buttons through some waves of enemies. But because it is Evangelion, I can forgive it to infinity because it has like music and sound effects and characters and mechs from the show. So that's enough for me. But it's also the most aggressively mobile of mobile games that I've ever seen. And what I mean, like the currencies and the gems and all that stuff. I actually took the time to quickly write down all the different types of currency in the game. So we have power, gold, crystals, mech shards, children shards, life source,
Children shards. Wait. Hold the phone. Children shards? The fucking what?
Because the mechs are piloted by the different characters, and you have to unlock the characters by getting 10 child shards for each character, and then you have to upgrade them by getting like 20, then 40, then 80 child shards. Plus the characters wear different costumes, and they have their own type of shard as well.
Oh my god.
Jesus.
So yes, so I was up to Life Source. So Life Source, armor upgrades, Soul Stone, Genes, Core, Research Tokens, Fortify Stones, Refinement Stones, and Gamma.
Wow.
So there's like
15?
15. Yeah, there's 15 currencies in the game.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's just clearly designed to always give you something to click. It's just like trying to distract you from how bad the game is by saying you can claim this daily bonus, claim this random bonus, do this weird mode and get some tokens, and then you have to wait 2 minutes and then do this mode, and it just overwhelms you with like little red dots on the screen that tell you you have something to unlock.
So when did EA publish this one?
Oh, wow.
I actually don't know who published it, but it's just, some minor mobile company.
Yeah.
And I don't recommend it to anybody unless you're a super fan, but I'm hooked because I'm a sucker.
Yeah. Jesus. Yeah, that seems like a run a mile kind of build. That's crazy.
That's got to be one of my favorite this week in gaming so far. I just love the fact that it was about a terrible game. I love that.
Yeah. All right, Matt. Let's move over to you now before we have to start paying for the next bit.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah, so I've been flitting from one game to another. I played a bit of Destiny 2. I found a shotgun I adore, and I didn't want to give up my bow, so I ended up running around with a bow and a shotgun, and it's the best combo in the game.
That is my current loadout. I completely agree.
I played some of World of Warcraft, and I did the Arathi Warfront finally, and it gets a lot of hate, but I really enjoyed it. It's actually really interesting and different. It's like a dungeon with like 30 or 40 other people or something like that, just random people. And you're fighting over Arathi. And it's not a PvP thing. I treated it like a dungeon, and I enjoyed it enough that I'm going to play it again probably this week.
Nice.
But yeah, other than that, I actually went back and I picked up Jurassic World Evolution again. Because it came out with the patch recently that they introduced a new challenge mode where the island that you can normally go to play Sandbox now has this whole challenge mode thing, which is basically like, okay, you've got $4,500,000 to start with, and you've got to get 5 stars in 4 hours. And you get awards and unlocks and that sort of thing. I think there's like Jeep skins and that sort of thing in there. And I'm like, that sounds really cool. And then I played it for a little bit, and I'm like, wait a second, I play these games to make really cool looking parks, not to make really, really efficient parks.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this is for me. So I played probably like 2 hours of that before going, no, it's a bit high stress. If I could go back and play through the story with some of the difficulty adjustments that they have in the challenge mode instead, that'd be really good. But the time pressure is just like, no, I spend way too much time tweaking my roads and fences to be just right, to be able to make me play through that and do the challenge mode correctly. So, but it's a really interesting addition. I was looking through the Steam forums, and it seems fairly popular. There's a lot of people that really enjoy that. So, yeah.
A lot of people play management sims to really hone down that kind of aspect of the game. So it makes sense that they'd sort of attempt to give that to people who like to tick those boxes. That's definitely...
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Cool. All right, well, Jam, what's gone on with you? Anything interesting since last week? Or
Nah, not especially. I haven't had as much time to game as I'd hoped. Bunch of Overwatch. Some more For the King.
Hey.
Enjoying playing my minstrel.
I was going to say
Fight for Life.
Overwatch Halloween stuff's about to kick off very shortly.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that on the 10th.
So
I think.
exciting.
So
Yeah.
very keen. But
cool.
yeah,
All right.
more of the same.
Well, I've got some new stuff to talk about. So I, this week, got to play 2 new games, one of which was The Gardens Between, which anyone who is listening last year around PAX time probably remembers we spoke a little bit about that. I think Memo might have spoken a little bit about that back then.
I got to play it and hang out with the guys.
Yeah.
The Voxel agents. Yeah.
So I have kind of mixed thoughts about this game. I'm overall probably not a huge fan. And the reason why is I think that it is a beautiful game. It plays really smoothly. The theme of it is gorgeous and lovely. But I just find it is not challenging at all, to the point of it kind of bores me a little bit when I play it. Is kind of where I land on it, which is a real shame, because I think that what they've tried to do is totally different to any other puzzle game that I've ever played. Like the core mechanic is generally that you're speeding up or slowing down the progression of these 2 characters sort of wandering over different sort of map areas, and it's kind of like you kind of have your hand on the time sort of bar, if you like. So, you can scrub forward or scrub back in terms of, where they're walking on each of these little islands, and they're sort of clambering over obstacles and this, that, and the other. But there are certain interaction points as they move through each island where you can sort of pause the time and hit the space bar and actually get the character that is sort of in the frame to interact with something that's in front of them. And then usually as a result of that interaction, when you move the time bar again, something's changed, and that's sort of central to solving the puzzle. And it's in terms of game length, it probably took me about, I'd say 2.5, 3 hours to finish. And the second half of it was infinitely better than the first half. The first half of it was just so easy to the point of boredom. I'm really disappointed to say. So, but I can't take anything else away from the rest of the game, because it does look beautiful. I think that the story that they're trying to subtly tell is about these 2 sort of friends that are in a treehouse, and they're kind of caught in a thunderstorm, and every sort of island that they visit is kind of like a dream sort of world state as they're reliving aspects of their childhood. So they kind of are visiting particular memories, and that all the stuff that they're clambering over is sort of associated with that memory, and that kind of stuff's really nice. But I just didn't find it as fun to play. So yeah, I don't know. How did you find it?
I think it's like having and my memory, I only did play a couple of levels at PAX, like you said. But I think in talking to them, I do remember it being it's about the experience of sitting down. It wasn't necessarily supposed to be, the be all end all of puzzle games.
Yeah,
I think it really was supposed to be and is designed for you to sit, experience, and also have that same experience they have where they're remembering their childhood. So I remember one level I played had the VHS tape, like an old video player, and the fact that I remember commenting to Jam at the time that the solution to that puzzle you'd only really know if you'd ever used a VHS player. And honestly, it was one of those things that I'm like, I only know that because I've actually had to do that, and that's the thing. Whereas I don't believe that would have been something as easy. So, for like all audiences and all demographics, it's a shame you didn't enjoy it. I have to say that when I was playing it, it did seem more like it would be fun because it's an experience rather than a challenge.
Yeah, maybe I just went in with the wrong expectations. It's possibly a me thing, but
it's beautiful, and I've had a lot of feedback from other people. This is a game that I recommend to non-gamers.
I can definitely see that.
To be able to play and experience sort of Australian-made games. So the guys, when they talked about it, were incredibly passionate. And, I mean, that's the benefit of getting to go to places like PAX. But
yeah,
I recommend you check it out if you're looking for an experience and not necessarily a hard puzzle game or a challenge.
I would agree.
I think the real problem is that there aren't enough child shards in that game.
Oh no!
Got to jam all those child shards together to make a memory.
That could be true. Yeah. The other one I played during the week though, which I am all about, is the first episode of Life is Strange Season 2. Holy shit, that game. I cannot say enough good things about Life is Strange in general, but Season 2, I mean, it's got a lot to live up to as far as how good the first season was, and the first episode delivers in spades. So the interesting thing, I think where a lot of people get confused about Life is Strange and maybe get the wrong impression, is if you know anything about the first season, you know that the central kind of mechanic is the sort of time thing, that one of the characters has like the ability to sort of time jump and rewind decisions that you make that sort of turn out a particular way, and that's sort of central to the theme of the game. And you might think, Life is Strange doesn't work without that mechanic. And if you think that, you're absolutely wrong. It completely works. The reason why it works is because Life is Strange at its core is about the storytelling and the character development. It's got some of the best character development I've ever seen in these narrative sort of adventure games. Way better than anything I've seen Telltale do, if I'm being fair, because I think they just really like deliver on what they try and do. And they don't play it safe either. They actually go for some of the risky character portrayals and make it a lot more real, because they attempt to do that. It doesn't feel like when they've got something to say. And Life is Strange 2 is a good example of this, because there are some elements of it that are very political. Timeline-wise, it's actually set just before the last American election, so a lot of the stuff that's, sort of is the current theme these days hasn't quite kicked into gear yet, but the main characters are actually a pair of American sort of boys who are Mexican sort of heritage. And the racism sort of stuff that you have to deal with in this game is very, very on par with stuff that's going on in the world today, but they don't beat you over the head with it. It's actually done really, really well while still being a central theme. So, I'm loving it. It is big time good.
I'd heard a good reading of it and a very brief description of how it's very political. And the reading of it that I went through was like, okay, no, that actually makes me really, really interested in picking it up. I still haven't actually finished the first one, which I really need to do. It's on my list of things to finish.
Yep.
But I'll probably actually pick up the second, because it sounds really interesting.
Oh, it's friggin' great. I was very curious how the two would connect to each other, and I'm sure I've mentioned this on the show before, because the ending of the first Life is Strange is very similar to the ending of Mass Effect, where the final decision you make is absolutely setting changing, in that any sequel coming after that would have a hard time sort of picking up from that, because of like one or two of the outcomes that could actually take place. But I'm very pleased to say that the very first thing you do in this game is you actually, at the beginning, get asked what happened at the end of your playthrough of Life is Strange 1. And you can answer either of the two main endings for that game, and that'll play in somehow with how this one sort of goes forward. I don't know how yet, though. But there has already been links to stuff in Life is Strange 1 in a very clever way. So I absolutely can't say what they are without spoiling anything, so I won't. But they've definitely thought about it, and it is factored in somehow. I'm actually going to go through and play episode 1 again with the other response, just to see what they've changed, if it actually turns up in this episode or if it's something that actually happens later on. I'm not sure. But there is a sort of special power involved that one of the kids has, which you kind of learn about throughout the episode. It's not the time rewinding thing, it's something different, but it's going to be a central part of the story. And there's an event that happens in the first episode that is almost, I'd say, The Last of Us level of gut-wrenching in terms of how it smashes you. Yeah,
big call.
It's not quite as bad as Last of Us, but there's a moment where you're just like, oh, holy shit, and things just get hairy from there. So yeah, definitely worth playing. I cannot recommend it enough. And the second episode, I think, is probably next month. So yeah, there we go. But yeah, that's it. I think we should probably move on now, because that's a lot of cool games to talk about. We do have some news to chat about.
Now it's time to hear some gaming news. Time for some gaming news.
So, big thing to lead with this week. Congratulations, everybody. We won the war. Sony is finally going to let us play with other people on other consoles.
In one game.
So far, one game.
It's the battle,
In
not
one
the war.
game.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
it's a battle.
It's a
It's
battle.
a good sign of potential things to come.
No, I don't trust it for a second. Sony are gonna use it as a use case for why they shouldn't have done it, and they're never gonna do it again. That's what's gonna happen.
I'm
Bloody
kind of with
Sony.
you.
Yeah.
I'm kind of
So
with
you
you.
think they're going to do some sort of like false flag operation where they'll like hack the game and say, look, we shouldn't have done
told
it in
you.
the first place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Look at
you
the
can't trust
children.
Microsoft. Yeah, it's Microsoft's fault. They leaked into our player base. Blah
Yeah.
blah blah.
Inside job.
Yeah.
Far out.
Now, what they're going to do is they're going to let it ride for a couple of months, and then they're going to start charging everybody child shards to continue using the feature.
Too little, too late, Sony. I'm glad. I'm happy for the Fortnite players, but too little, too late for me.
Yeah.
They've
Yeah.
burnt their bridge. We'll see.
It's interesting. I mean, the opening statement they made when they announced that they were going to be allowing cross-platform play for Fortnite as the first test. They said the first step will be an open beta beginning today that will allow for cross-platform blah, 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 blah. We see the beta as an opportunity to conduct thorough testing that ensures cross-platform play is best on PlayStation while being mindful about the user experience from both the technical and social perspective. Now, that to me reads as a bullshit word salad that just covers their butts from the dumb shit they said before, basically.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it did get me
Comments did
thinking
sort
about.
of indicate that, we've been listening to our our users and this is what they want. They wanted this for ages, Sony. What were you listening to before?
Yeah.
Why is it suddenly you've listened to it? What's happening?
They're investors.
Yeah, exactly.
It is
These
true.
people have money.
Yeah. It does make you wonder, though, like what other games are going to get looked at next. They have actually said since the beta sort of the crossplay began that things are going very well. So contrary to what you guys just sort of said in terms of the fear-mongering side of things, I don't think they'll actually drop this. I think they'll have to move forward with it because dropping it would cause them irreparable brand damage. So
Rocket
I think
League
it
makes
makes
sense.
yeah,
Rocket
absolutely.
League and Minecraft, I would
Yeah.
say would be fairly easy because they're big titles that cross-platform for Switch, and Microsoft have been pretty big.
Yeah, definitely.
I actually think this will be an issue that in a couple of years' time will be almost forgotten. People will say, "Oh, remember when Sony was really fussy about crossplay?" And it'll be like Xbox and always online and that sort of thing. Where it'll
Remember
Remember when
Oh,
you had to
yeah.
have 4 consoles so you could play with your friends? Yeah, those days.
Yeah. I mean, the
Remember
big
when Microsoft got panned for doing always online?
oh yeah,
That's right. Yeah.
No, I think the big deciding factor moving forward will be more the control schemes available for different games, like the mouse keyboard factor with shooters and that sort of thing. Although that being said, Xbox are releasing mouse and keyboard support very shortly, so that's an interesting little twist to that story. So, I don't know. A couple of years, this may even for that be a thing forgotten. We'll have to wait and see. But if it's pushed down to the individual developers and it's the developers themselves that choose whether their games want to be cross-play or not, then that's probably a good sort of media move for Sony. They can kind of shift the buck somewhat and let people fight amongst themselves. So, yeah, it's good. But what else is going on Sony-wise?
Yeah. Other news Sony-wise is that they've announced there's going to be no PSX this year. PSX is the Sony-only press conference that they've held for the last 4 years, and they usually do some announcements there and some community stuff. And they've basically said that this year they have nothing sort of groundbreaking or to reveal. They're just focusing on their current titles. And that it would be a waste to sort of fly everybody out for a disappointment. So which I think is the right thing to do, rather than trying to sort of scrape the barrel and prop up games that maybe aren't ready for that stage. They just said,
field a million crossplay questions. How's it
Yes,
going?
yeah.
Why didn't you do it
Crossplay
sooner? Meh.
Yeah. It'll probably be back next year, maybe if they've got more to talk about, maybe a PlayStation 5. But yeah, no PSX this year.
If they want to reveal anything, they've always got the Game Awards as well as a place they could potentially do that. So
True that.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, true.
Some other news that came out over the weekend at Minecon, Mojang announced Minecraft Dungeons, which looks cool, out on PC in 2019. It's a new top-down dungeon crawler, sort of hack and slash, they say. But we don't know a lot about it. There's not a lot of gameplay. There was just sort of a cinematic type video. So
Didn't look like it was built in the standard Minecraft engine. It looked like something different. Yeah.
No, it's different. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, it lends itself well to kind of like a roguelike potential.
Yeah, that's
thing,
true.
which would be pretty interesting.
Roguelite? Did someone say roguelite?
Yeah.
I was slightly more interested in the fact they're announcing that pandas are going to hit vanilla Minecraft. Pandas eat the bamboo.
I did
and
see
they look
that.
all squishy.
I bet they'll be really hard to breed.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
Oh,
Yeah,
if
absolutely.
it's going to be like horrible cages, jokes, and now I'm sad.
Yeah.
Nah, I'm not. I'm looking forward to pandas. I've already got like this breeding room for my turtles.
Nice.
I can handle it.
I've seen it. Sometimes
still
I
seems
stand
that-
there and watch them.
It still seems that they're adding content to this game at a glacially slow pace sometimes. Like this year being the exception because of all the water stuff that they added. But recent years, it just seems like things are happening at a trickle. It's, yeah.
Well,
I think it's fine though. I think it's an ain't broke, don't fix it kind of situation with a lot of Minecraft.
True.
they've been merging all of the platforms. They've been working so hard on getting it all into this one version of Minecraft so that they can really start,
And
doing stuff.
Mojang is tiny. They're like a studio of like 14 or 15. I don't think they ever expanded after Microsoft bought them.
Which is kind
Wow.
of weird. You'd think that
Yeah.
they'd invest a little more. But
If it's not broke, don't fix it, right?
Yeah.
Like that's like
Otherwise, they could have ended up like a Telltale.
yeah,
Yeah.
that is true. They did reveal the last sort of 24 hours that they're still reporting 90 million concurrent monthly players at the moment, which is still ahead of Fortnite. So there you go. I heard Minecraft described on another podcast over the last couple of days as Fortnite, and those other smaller games like Minecraft. And I was like, no, you've got no idea, no idea.
In other news about breaking things, we've got some more info on the Fallout 76 Beta 2. Mm-hmm. They really want to stress test it. So the beta's opening for Xbox on October 23 and for PS4 and PC on October 30, which is awesome. That's when I fly back from PAX. But it's not going to be an online all the time, always available thing. It may be between 4 to 8 hours each day, and they're seriously going to limit the windows to get maximum players to truly stress test.
Yeah.
that's a smart idea.
Yeah,
I like
and they're
that.
going to ramp it up over the beta period until launch so that they can just be confident on launch day that, everything's working. They want people to be able to carry over progression too. That's the plan at this stage for release
It's actually
on
very similar
14th
to
November.
what Nintendo have done with like their splat tests and
Yeah.
the ARMS and
Yeah.
Splatoon. They had that where it's only a couple of hours for the stress test.
Yeah.
I like
It's
it because
smart.
it indicates that they're actually doing a true beta test as opposed to just early access for people who pay like a premium
Yeah.
product. Yeah.
Yeah.
We want to know if it's going to break.
Yeah, my only thing is, so I say that's a good thing, and it absolutely is, and I know a lot of people are going to be really annoyed about that, but I will be really annoyed as an Australian if it's between the hours of like 12
Yes.
and 4 a.m.
That'll
be the
flip
big kicker.
side.
Now,
Like, if
it could suck for us.
It could really suck.
as much as I agree with that, Matt, I know that that's not going to affect you in the slightest.
It won't. It probably won't, but I will hate it. I will hate myself while I'm doing it.
Oh, hilarious. It's all right. I'm in the same boat. All right. As far as other quick news bites go, I just wanted to really quickly mention a very good bit of news that PS4 at the end of October as well is also going to be getting a special bundle deal called Castlevania Requiem, which is Symphony of the Night and Rondo of Blood together. So two of the best Castlevania games ever combined as a package out on the last weekend of October. So if you're not playing Fallout 76 beta or Red Dead Redemption 2, then you might want to get that look in. But yeah, that's got some tough competition that weekend, that's for sure. But yeah.
Speaking of Red Dead Redemption 2, there was a new gameplay video that came out, and it sure looks like Red Dead Redemption 2.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, cowboys and everything.
I don't really have much to say about it. It looks like Red Dead Redemption 2. It looks good. But there's nothing in there that's really made me go, wow, that's new and exciting from Red Dead Redemption 1. But it looks good. It does look good. What was far more exciting that was a video was the leak of a possible Harry Potter RPG, which I'm not a huge Harry Potter fan, but I'm a huge RPG fan, and seeing the gameplay, I was like, oh man, I am so down with being a wizard.
It looks so good.
That's awesome.
Cannot wait. If I don't get
looks
sorted
like
to
it'll
my
make $1
proper
billion.
house, though, I'd be pissed.
Has everyone actually
Yeah.
been sorted into houses using the Pottermore stuff? I know that Mimo and Jam and I have. Yeah. Christian, what did you land on?
Gryffindor.
Gryffindor? Yeah. Adrian?
Yeah.
No, look, let's just get one thing straight. I fully believe, I fully believe in picking your own house. I don't like these, like, online. It's very horoscopy to me. I think.
Well, yeah,
Did you get Slytherin?
Yes.
the sorting hat does listen to you.
Yeah, that's right.
Harry says
brilliant.
himself.
I'm obviously a Ravenclaw, not a Slytherin.
There's
so I just
nothing
totally
wrong with
object to Pottermore.
Slytherin.
There's not.
If I remember rightly, I was Hufflepuff, so, you know.
Yeah,
Yay!
that's awesome.
But yeah, like apparently there's like 8 separate like wizarding classes that you can be. So like different skill focuses, I guess. Which it sounds interesting. There's like a class-based system in there. The gameplay video, apparently, according to Luke, it's already been taken down. So it was only a couple of us that got to see it. But yeah, like it's got like a very straightforward ability menu from what I saw in some of the gameplay snippets, where you have like a variety of different skills, which it looks like you can just slot out. It was very clearly designed for controllers, so definitely console version, where it looks like, you know, okay, well, the square, circle, triangle, X button, you know, might be mapped to a different spell on each. Yeah, it looks really interesting, but it's also a leak, and it could be a very, very convincing fake, but I'm pretty convinced.
That's a lot of effort for a fake, that's for sure.
It is.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Hell of a lot of effort for a fake.
Not that it hasn't been done before, but yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
If they can appeal to the, like, Tumblr Harry Potter crowd, then it'll sell $1 billion.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right.
I just need like a wand peripheral.
like the Pokemon Go thing. Actually,
Drown in money.
that's a point. There was a Pokemon Go style Harry Potter game coming. I wonder if they'd
There was
actually
a rumor, yeah.
release a wand for that as like the thing. Anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves.
There was actually on PlayStation, they had that book of spells, whatever it was, that like. Remember they tried that thing with the camera where you'd sit in front of your TV?
remember.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they had a Harry Potter thing for that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right.
There's potential.
Cool. So, topic of the week time, and of course, it is the week of the month that we do our party game of the month review. So every month we basically take your suggestions from the audience and the listeners out there to review a game that's a bit different from the usual sort of indie or AAA stuff that we hit. Well, I mean, sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. We get random suggestions, get a very diverse selection, and the first episode of every month we review something different. So we also have a contest associated with Party Game of the Month as well. And Christian has a fantastic rap on how this contest works, so I'm going to throw it to him as I always do because you always explain it the best. So
It's well, anyone who's listened knows that we encourage people to send in their suggestions, and basically, if you send in your suggestion during a particular month, so if you sent it in the last month, then you go into the draw to win the game that we just discussed. So on today's episode, we're going to announce the winner of Burly Men at Sea, and that's somebody who has suggested a game in the past and it's been added to our list. So yeah, it's pretty simple. Just keep sending in suggestions, and you got a chance to win the game. That's all you listeners need to know.
absolutely. Keep it fresh, keep it active, keep sending gaming ideas in. You never know, we might pick your game suggestion. So Jam, who's our winner this month?
Our winner is Jason. Thank you very much, Jason Doan, for your suggestion. It's great. Jason has been suggesting things from day dot, so
Yeah.
it's exciting to see him rolled up.
No, it's good. We have reviewed a couple of the things that he's suggested over the last couple of years too, which has been awesome. So there you go.
Yeah, and there's still more on the list.
It's nice. All right. So, Jason, you get to snag yourself a copy of Burly Men at Sea, which we're about to tell you if it's actually going to be an awesome prize or not.
You got lots of different opinions, so it's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Burly Men at Sea, of course, was added to our list by Miss Mimo here. So, Imogen, I'm going to throw it to you now just to give a
Miss
very
Mimo.
basic overview of what the heck this game is all about. So,
Ms. Mimo?
Ms. Mimo.
No, that's not true. So Burly Men at Sea was a game that I found in one of my random Steam adventures. It is a very small game. It is described by many on the website as easy and enjoyable. It's a narrative, like story-driven game with some small interactive type puzzle elements to it. It is developed by Brain and Brain. It is released late in 2016. So it's been out for a little while. It's been on the list for a little while, to be fair. I think I put it on the list about a year ago or so, and I have held off buying it a couple of times, and then it was rolled up as Party Game of the Month, and then Jam gifted it to me for my birthday.
Yay, happy birthday!
Yeah. So I've had a little bit of a play on it. It's available on so many things: PC, Mac, mobile, PS4,
PlayStation
Vita,
Vita.
and Switch. Yeah,
Yay!
Christian, I
Yay,
loved your
Vita.
tweet this week about finally got my Vita out.
Yeah.
You got to find the releases that are still on that Vita. It's only around $10 US. Sorry,
Cheapest
to buy.
on mobile, I think it was a couple of dollars cheaper on mobile, but yeah.
Yeah. Interestingly, I played it on Steam. What did everyone else play it on?
Steam.
Well, I've already said Vita.
Yeah. I played on mobile.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So when you said that, let me know the other day that you'd played it on mobile, it's really interesting, like playing through the game. That's sort of one of the overwhelming things I kind of thought. It's like, this would probably be a great game on mobile.
Yeah.
Because I think that, but in a way, it's good to sort of sit back and relax game. So that's sort of where I think it detracts from maybe playing it on the PC.
I
But the game-
absolutely think to that end that playing this game without a touchscreen would not be as fun, I think, personally. But yeah, we'll get onto that.
Yeah. So the game mechanics and the style, like I said, narrative based. It's not as easy as a point-and-click adventure. There is some sort of puzzle elements that doesn't hold your hand in any which way, and you will figure things out, or you'll end up at the bottom of the sea.
Aww.
I think the best thing about this game, and I'm going to say it way up front, is that when you finish your given adventure, you are given a code, and you can go onto their website at burlymenatsea.com/mystery and type in your code, and then what you can do is order either a digital or a hardback version of your particular story, and it is a picture book that will show you your particular adventure. So I think I played through the whole thing, got an ending and an adventure, and then I went back and did some other bits and pieces as well. I believe the book is about your first interaction. So mine will be a very short book.
As would mine.
Yeah. It was one of those things I sort of jumped on to play it, and Jam was online at the same time, and I think by the time Jam jumped on, she was like, I'm starting the game. I'm like, oh no, I think I'm dead.
I think it's the quickest time to credits I've ever seen in a game for me. Where I started playing it, and 5 minutes later I was watching credits. I was like, oh.
Oh wow, Christian, you beat me.
That's really fast. Mine was longer than that. I think I was at least 20, 25 minutes. So
Yeah, mine was 20-25. Mine was around yours. Luke and I'm interested to see what everybody saw. I know some bits that Jam saw that I didn't, and vice versa. And so we were sort of online in the end. I sort of I did it this way, and I sort of tried to building in my head this decision tree that must sit at the background of this game of there's 3 ways out of this, there's 2 ways out of that, and then therefore there's this many options, and I started getting very mathematical about it, and then I had to stop myself.
Okay, so I actually did do that, and I actually did kind of make a map, and I worked out there's 12 separate endings. Yeah, so in the whale, there's 3 decisions, but every other decision tree only has 2 options.
Yeah.
The whale's the unique one.
Yeah. So there's either, and it's good or bad, or sometimes the 2 options you're not sure if they're good or bad. And other times I thought, oh, that's just an interaction. That's a cool interaction. And it wasn't until after that sort of second playthrough that I kind of had realized that everything has another option, which I think is kind of awesome. The art of this game and the sound of this game is beyond wonderful.
amazing.
Oh, yeah.
It's
I
amazing.
love it
The
so much.
sound in this game, it took me a while to figure out that I think it's mostly VO.
Yeah.
I think they've
Yeah.
made all
Yeah.
of
I
the
think it's
sound.
all mouse
100% VO
sounds.
except for the music.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the music is by Plaid Sound, but it sounds like every single sound effect is someone's mouth making stupid
Yeah.
noises. The coffee machine goes,
Oh, the coffee machine's so good.
oh, it's
Yeah.
the best.
The
Book
birds
just
flying
makes
off.
book.
Yeah.
The bird sounds. Yeah. So yeah.
The one that the blacksmith was the one that
ting,
convinced me. Yeah. It was the blacksmith that convinced me. The tinging noise. I'm like, okay, no, that's totally mouth sounds.
It's
It's
so
great.
delightful.
It was
so
the birds. It was the
delightful.
birds in the forest that made me realize that, oh my gosh, that is one person making, or it was a human
reminded
being
me-
making those sounds.
It's a lot of the Wind Rises, one of the Studio Ghibli movies, and in that movie, there's like a human voice does all the planes for all the noises for all the planes. So it's just like meow.
It sounds
very
dumb,
similar to
but
that.
it works so well.
Yeah,
It just
So
fits the
good.
aesthetic
And
beautifully.
yeah.
So I'm going to jump in there. The aesthetic is totally meant to be like you're in bed as a kid with one of your parents reading a book to you.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a picture
And then-
book.
It's a
Wonderful.
picture book,
Except-
so that's why it has all the
Except
mouth sounds.
It's a picture book about 3 burly men who are brothers, which is Steady,
Yeah.
Hasty, and
what's the last?
Brave. Brave
Brave,
Beard.
yeah.
Their surname is
Beard,
Beard.
Hasty Beard, and Steady Beard. And they are having wonderful adventures.
They
These
find
3
a cool
brothers.
map in a bottle.
Yeah, it's the very beginning. You find a map, you open it, and I think it almost makes like a map sound when it opens. You go into town, you got to figure out who can help you with the map, and you find a mysterious person who can help you on your way. And you've basically got to go and fill as much of the map as you can. And so if you're a completionist, the internet tells me it would take you 2 hours. I think I can get it done in under that time. With Matt's decision tree, we can do this. I believe there's probably only 3 or 4 different things I haven't seen, just because
Okay.
I didn't want to kill the game by seeing everything. It kind of felt like I'd gone too far behind the curtain at one stage. But I totally didn't get the option side of things at all. I made a big mistake when I got in the whale the first time. I didn't want to go out the blowhole. I wanted to stay, but I accidentally put on my barrels too early.
That sounds hilarious.
And then I couldn't take them off. Then I was
As
in a
maybe the only
barrel.
person who hasn't played this game, I'm just sitting here listening to everyone talk about it, going, "What the fuck is going on?"
Confusing.
Welcome to games that Mimo
It's a-
finds.
It's a choose your own adventure storybook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The art style, it's this beautiful, simple, like blocks of colours with white background, sort of not pastel, but I don't know how you describe the
Muted.
colour scheme. It looks a little
Muted, yeah.
Swedish.
Yeah, it's got a little bit of like a sort of Scandinavian
Yeah.
or slash hipster feel to it.
Yeah, and there's no
Is it the
no
beards?
voice work other than the sound effects. It's all text on screen, so it looks like an interactive picture book for kids.
Yeah, and I like what you said, Matt, where it's like with all the mouth noises, it's like it's being read to you, and it also makes me also feel like the story's being ad-libbed almost, where you can imagine somebody, and then there's a giant whale, and then there's a wizard, and it's like, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to jump in there right now because that's a really good segue into my opinion. So I love the way the game looks. I love the way the game sounds. I hate the way it tells story. Because it never feels like it's actually a story it's telling. It does feel like, okay, well, they're eaten by a whale and they get free, and then they find this thing on an island, and then it stomps away and gets a flower, but it's actually a tree, and then they ride away on the tree, and then they're, meeting this thing on the water. I'm just like, okay, cool, that's all really neat, but then by the time you get to the end, none of it's connected.
Yeah,
it's
no.
just this weird journey, and then you,
You
go
can
back to the
ride
start.
away on the tree?
Yeah,
Yes,
I
you can
had
ride away
exactly
the
the
tree.
same thought, Tam. I was like, I didn't do the tree. Damn it, I didn't use the tree.
Oh, that's
He just
my
got really
favourite bit.
sad because I tipped it over.
Yeah, me too.
My mountain friend who loved flowers, he's great at flowers, allegedly.
That is one of the other ones. That interaction makes me really sad because there's nothing you can do in that interaction with the big golem thing to actually make it happy. Like they always try to escape it, and so they either escape it by distracting it or they escape it by convincing it to throw them on the tree. So yeah, like I really enjoyed the game, but it's not the kind of game that I could do and just focus on and play in those 2 hours and have fun. It's very much I pick it up and then play it for 10 minutes and then put it down after I've experienced another story. That's the only way I can find myself enjoying it.
Yeah, I think that's probably valid. And as I was playing through it, that's probably where I was thinking was going to be the issue, if anything, is that it's a little bit too consumable. And I think we come at it from a perspective of being quite significant level of like time invested in games. So maybe it's a little bit of that Gardens Between issue again, where it's been designed for probably not our audience necessarily. It's been designed for people to play with their kids, and that's what Jam and I talked about.
And
Is
hipsters.
it wouldn't it be great? and
Scandinavian
Nemos.
hipsters.
Scandinavian hipsters with beards.
Yeah.
So I will count myself among them because I am really curious. Like, does the narrative ever actually go anywhere? Because there's a lot of hints that, right? Like, if the narrative went somewhere, then I'd totally change my opinion about the way it's delivered, because there's potentially something interesting there, but I don't think it does.
It's like the kid that you're reading to is actually writing the story, because you know how kids write stories? It's like, and then I did this thing, and then I went here, and then I went and did this thing. Yeah.
Which is genius for what it is, I think.
That's exactly what it is. Young kids getting read storybooks. There's a repetition, and they find comfort in repetition and simplicity when they're, exploring ideas and learning things, or even learning how to read. I think it's really aimed at that young audience. I found it delightful, but 45 minutes was plenty for me to experience two playthroughs and understand, I had some favourite interactions. I loved the stone golem mountain. He was adorable, picking me flower trees. But I think the fact that you can get your experience with just 5 digits, a 5-digit code, you can get your experience printed in a beautiful looking picture book with that gorgeous art style. I think its selling point is sharing it with kids. Like, I can imagine having a young child playing through with them and noting that code down to get them a gift, of the book to commemorate that playthrough where you made decisions together and experienced that together. So,
how cool!
Which is such a sweet idea.
Yeah, there's a future in that book sits on somebody's bookshelf for years and years and years, and then one day someone's like, "This is a weird book. Where did you get this from?" "Oh, it's from a video game that I played with this person." Like, that's so,
a treasure.
Yeah, that's so awesome.
Did you guys ever have one of those books as a kid where your parents would send away for it and it had your name in it?
Oh, I didn't, but I know about those.
Yeah, I remember having one. It was I can't remember what the story was, but it was your parents send away for a book that has the main character in the book is you. So they obviously there's lots of they can put any name in there, but then it comes with like an audio recording, and so someone reads it to you with your name in it as well.
So my kids have actually got one of these. It's a little bit more involved than that. Like when it was sent away for. They were not only provided my boys' names, but also their sort of group of friends. Like they got to take about half a dozen names. And it's actually a Star Wars book, and it actually puts all of their names in the story in various different roles. But
do you have to pick which one turns out to be Sith?
No. It's all kind of like...
I never liked Timmy.
Think of like the Battle of Endor. Think of like the Battle of Endor. If a book was telling the tale of that, it's like, such and such was manning the turret weapon, such and such was on the ground rallying the troops.
Cool.
They're all kind of side characters. They don't take the place of main characters, but they're all mentioned and part of the narrative. So, yeah.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah. So that sort of interaction and that kind of thought of a game as a far-reaching experience beyond the screen, whatever screen that might be, even your Vita, Christian. I think it's really neat. And this is one of those ones where I found it, and yes, it wasn't revolutionary and we didn't play it. It's not, Crypt of the Necrodancer for you, Luke, where it becomes like one of your favorite games and all of that type of stuff. But I think that I'm really happy that I found it, because this is exactly what I do those Steam digs for. It's just that one game that we never would have played. No one probably ever would have found it. But I found this amazing thing that just really sort of buoys my enthusiasm for the industry as a whole.
Now, I feel that that's a good segue for me to jump in and give my actual thoughts, because... Now, Imogen, you and I have got a little bit of a checkered past when it comes to recommending Party Game of the Month games.
Crypt of the Necrodancer, I recommended it. You loved it. Ori the Blind Forest, you loved it. It was just one game you hated.
We have been a little hit and miss. There's been a few I've recommended that you've really not liked. There's been one in particular that you've recommended that I've really not liked. But it's been hit and miss.
Pigeon Dating's
I will say, I fucking love this game. I thought it was so good.
Yeah, did it again.
And do you know why I really connected with it? It's because I was playing the game the whole time thinking to myself, not only is this a perfect game for non-gamers or kids sort of looking at something really simple and light to digest, but I think that as an example of what is possible at a basic level without having any ridiculous talents at illustration or sort of coding or any of that sort of stuff, if you were ever to say to somebody, hey, look at this game, you could probably make this with a little bit of learning, it's actually a really good example of what could be achievable without being a superstar at some of the more specialist skills when it comes to game design. And I'm not saying that to take anything away from Brain and Brain, because I think it's a fantastic production. But if you look at the graphics used, if you look at the sound effects especially, and the writing and all that sort of stuff, it doesn't look like it would be impossible to make something like that without knowing like huge amounts about making games. And I mean, that's maybe a little disservice to people who design games, but I think it just gives the impression of being a very easy sort of step on point for that kind of, pursuit, I guess.
Yeah. And remembering that this was made in 2016. So now we're in a world where on a regular basis I'm interacting in my day job with people like kids making games that are not dissimilar to this. It's being taught as curriculum in Australia and everything else. So totally. And the fact that it's 2 years old and it's still standing up, it just had its 2-year birthday of release. There you go. I think it's pretty neato.
I think it's the first game I've ever played where I genuinely think I would have enjoyed it more if I was actually playing it on a handheld device.
Yeah, 100%. Mobile was perfect. I wouldn't have traded that for anything. So, yeah.
All right. Because on Steam, like, it feels... Steam's overkill for it. Like, compared to the other sort of games you get on Steam, like, I was expecting more from it narratively than what I got. I should say, I actually really like the game. It's just that I don't like the content delivery system of the story. I think it's really shallow, but, like... I totally agree with Luke that visually and the sound design is totally a game that somebody could learn to make by themselves. What it does visually and sound design wise, I think you would have to go through years of training and experience to really nail what it does really, really well. Yeah. But it's super simple and like it's a sort of game where I have no doubt it has probably gone and made its money back and made a profit. I hope it has because it deserves it. But it. Yeah, the only problem I have with it is that narrative. But taking it from the context of if I gave this to my kid on a mobile phone to play through before bed at night, that's really cute, and that totally nails what it should be for, right?
Exactly, and it's not dissimilar to I've recently been playing Paperbark as well, which is a beautiful game. My goodness, this game. The thing with that game is I know it's short, so I'm playing it in like 10-minute stints because I don't want it to end. But it's that same as you just said, Matt. I couldn't see playing it on any other platform than mobile, and maybe that's an age thing because I don't know that in 2016 we would have necessarily said that, but I certainly didn't need my full PC rig set up to play Burly Men at Sea. I'm very happy with it, and I'm glad that people have at least enjoyed it. How was it on the Vita, Christian?
It was perfect on the Vita, I think. You actually have to buy it as a bundle for PS4 and Vita, and I just thought like it didn't seem like the kind of game that just like needs a big screen or a controller in my hand. So even without playing it, just from the vibe I got from the aesthetic, I was like, I'm going to play this on a handheld because it's more at home, seems more at home there. And I do really like my Vita, so yeah, it was good there. And you have the option to do the touch screen or use the like analog sticks, and I use the touch screen. So
yeah, I would just say to Adrian that even though you sort of haven't gotten the chance to play this one yet, it might not be a bad one even after the fact tonight, just to take a look at, because I think it's helpful for people like us to sometimes have a couple of games in our back pocket to recommend to people who maybe aren't gamers. So,
yeah, sure.
And Florence is another good example, I think, of sort of those sorts of games that you can easily sort of pass on to someone who's not, fully into the hobby as it is. Yeah.
I love that game.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm constantly, I don't know if that happens to you guys, but constantly I'm asked, like, oh, you play video games? Like, if I'm not really a gamer, like, what can I play? Like, what's interesting? Like, or I have lots of people who play big games, but I'd love to show them local games or indie games and those types of things, and how with a little bit of with the time and the love that goes into some of these games, you can come with some really fantastic things, and we've mentioned some great examples.
I actually think that this game is almost too simple to recommend to like adults who aren't gamers. I think that it really is for kids. Like the children's book thing, like I'd recommend something more like I don't think you can actually get it on a current gen console, but the Unfinished Swan, if anyone played that, where that was a game that had like a similar setup where it is set up like a children's storybook, but it has like this underlying narrative about a boy whose mother died without finishing this painting of a swan, and then
Is that the black and white game?
Yeah, it's like a black and white game where you interact with it just by like throwing paint around. And that game kind of like, it's a storybook, but really it's kind of a metaphor for this kid coming to terms with his mother dying, and like having that bit more substance to it. I think it made it enjoyable for adults too. Whereas this game, I would only really recommend to people with kids or to like hipsters who really want to play like a little artisanal
Maybe that's it,
bespoke
Christian. Maybe
game.
I'm friends with too many people who I think would enjoy it.
People who just gonna like twirl their waxed
The
mustaches.
problem is my demographic. That's the problem.
Yeah, and write it on their like penny farthings. Go, yes, beards,
Twirl their mustaches
beards.
while they play Burly Men at sea.
Yeah,
I would like to try a videoed game, please.
One video game.
I personally think that like games like the Stanley Parable or the Beginner's Guide are actually really, really good for people that are not gamers. Because there's so much in those to explore. Like for Stanley Parable, it's very much like, you know, just exploring that same narrative and repeating it. Like I think that like there's so much there to have fun with. And the Beginner's Guide, I think that most adults will actually walk away from it nearly crying because of the fact that it hits home with anybody that's at least even slightly creative. It's a really, really great narrative. But I do agree that Burly Men at Sea is probably not for an adult audience. Unless you take that title totally differently, which is what I was kind of hoping for.
Me too. Ever
It
since
was like a dream daddy type situation. Don't worry, I've got the list for you, Matt.
I'm not going to lie. When I saw that roll up and I saw Mimo's name next to it, I was worried. I was
Oh,
concerned.
you love it. It's always an adventure, Luke, and you love it.
Anyway, that is our review. So, Burly Men at Sea. I think we've got a reasonable thumbs up for the most part all round. So that's good. Well done, Mimo. Good suggestion. Very diverse one compared to some of the other stuff we've looked at recently too, which is awesome. So, we have to pick a game for our next party game review. Now, slight change to schedule with this one, as we have done each year around the end of October, because it is peak video game season. There's a lot of stuff coming out, and we also have our upcoming PAX travels, which is going to create a small interruption to our usual recording schedule. So more on that sort of throughout the month. We are going to have a slightly longer window for this next party game of the month. So we're still going to select it tonight, but we're going to be reviewing this one first week of December instead of first week of November as we normally would. So we've got 2 months to play this one, because when we get back from PAX, we're going to be talking that. We're going to be talking Red Dead, all sorts of stuff going down. So
Pokemon.
yeah, exactly. We've got plenty on. So to that end, Jam, how do people suggest a game to us, and what are the guidelines they should keep in mind?
I'm not in the document because I was waiting to roll my random number generator to pick it, and I didn't want to cheat. Should never throw to me for that thing.
That's exactly why I threw it. That's all right. Well, I know that Matt's ready, so let's throw to him instead. Go for it.
Yeah, okay. So you can contact us at mail@partyloaded.com or contact us on Facebook at partyloaded, or you can contact us on Twitter, which is at partyloadedshow. The game that you suggest must actually be released. It can't be just coming soon or anything like that. It must be PC, mobile, or multi-platform, so it can't be console exclusive, unfortunately. It has to be a maximum of $30 US. If it's a $50 or $60 game, we're not probably going to do it. We must be able to get a good impression of it from just a few hours of play. I think this was actually a really good example of that. I put in 2 hours, and I think I'm one of the people that played it the most then in that case.
Yeah.
Perfect example. As far as ticking these boxes go, this is almost the poster child.
Yeah, it really is, yeah. And yeah, just send us your suggestions. We'll put you on the list, and you go in the running for winning our current game that we've just played. So, yeah.
Bonus points from listener number one, Mimo, if it involves burly men with beards.
All right. So
We're going to get so many burly men with beard games now. Too many.
Welcome.
we've had our fair
It's the new
share of
name of the podcast.
Vikings sort of themed things, so it's not super
That's
uncommon. Yeah. All right. Well, Jam, you got the random number generator, so
I do.
give that.
I do. I'm rolling.
Give that hot thing a whirl. What do we got?
Number 5. What's number 5?
Ooh, this is a recent
Scythe.
edition.
Yeah.
All right. So
I don't know about that.
I actually looked it up today. I wonder if I've still got it open on my browser. So this is Scythe Digital Edition. Here we go. I've got it in front of me. So it is
It's kind of civilization-y.
Yeah, it's a single player or multiplayer, including online and local options. And it transports you to an alternate reality in 1920s Europa, one ravaged by the First World War. Take up the role of leader by assuming command of one of 5 factions and set out to conquer the coveted factory. Lead your mechs to war and your people to victory. So there you go, Christian. It's got mechs.
Yeah, man, this looks
got
awesome. This looks like steampunk, like alternate history, World War One, like strategy game. I'm all about
This
this.
need
is
to get all
ticking so
five
many
before me.
boxes.
Yep.
And I do see a burly man with a beard in the logo. So.
There is indeed a
Bonus.
Burly Man. Burly Man of War.
Damn.
Nice. So we got 2 months to get some online gaming shenanigans together for all of that.
Excellent.
That sounds like an awesome
Sounds
one.
good.
Good roll. All right, well, that is a show. So thanks, everybody, for jumping on and having our biggest turnout to the crew ever. It's been good having everybody on. Yeah.
Thanks, Mimo.
Thanks,
Been a
Mimo.
pleasure,
Yay.
as always.
Anyone want to shout out any fun gaming plans for the next week? Actually, Matt, quick update for you. I will say that I have now unlocked 6 out of 7 of the achievements for the Dark Room. So
Oh, nice. Nice.
I'm playing that this week. I'm pumped.
Good. You have to let me know how it goes.
Will do.
Yeah.
Of course.
I bet you the last achievement that you haven't unlocked is the one that I'm having trouble figuring out how to unlock myself.
That's promising.
Oh man, I'm gonna die.
It's totally in the game. It's totally in the game. But
Sneaky?
I think like 5 people in the world have unlocked it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
no, it's not that one.
sneaky.
The one that I'm missing is actually one of the other ones. The one that's the least unlocked I've got. So
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, well, you figured out the one I haven't figured out yet.
No spoilers.
no.
I'm going to be playing, I know this is controversial, I'm going to be playing Fortnite, but I'm actually playing the game that it was originally intended to be, so the Fortnite Save the World. So I've been jumping online with Simo and with our friend Nick, and I've been enjoying that, and it's actually really good, and it's quite grindy, but in a good way. So it's kind of like Diablo-y mixed with a bit of tower defense, mixed with a bit of horde mode. I actually really like it. So,
It had a rough release, so I'm glad to hear that they've been working on it.
I've heard good things.
Yeah,
Apparently, they keep adding to that part of the game, even though people don't talk about it. So
I'm gonna have to
really
play
keen
this
on it,
Fortnite
actually.
thing these kids are playing these days. I'm gonna have to give it a go. I tried to download it at work, but it didn't work.
yeah. Well, now that it's
It's probably blocked
cross-platform,
on the work service.
now that it's cross-platform, there might be some additional people that can play as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
I was looking at playing XCOM 2 War of the Chosen, which I've not actually touched yet.
Yes.
And
XCOM.
I'm thinking about streaming it because when I was talking to one of my friends about it, he's like, if you stream it, I will sit there in the stream with you and give you a
Yeah,
hell
I
of a
will.
time.
Can
I'll
we
watch the
have time
crap
to do
out of
that as a
that.
group?
Yeah, I'm down.
I think that is a fantastic game to stream with commentary from other people. It is really
Oh my
good.
god, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I
I
love XCOM 2. I love the XCOM 2. I haven't played War of the Chosen yet, and that is a travesty.
Was there XCOM 2 where you killed all of us, Luke, multiple times? You're up to like Mimo 7 or whatever it was?
Yeah.
Mimo 7 was an absolute fucking powerhouse by the end of the game.
Just took 7 iterations of Mimo and then it came good. Yeah.
Yeah, there were very few people that made it through unscathed, so you were not the only one.
You know why? It's because you upgraded it with all those child shards. That's how she
Jam those child shards into her. Yeah.
It's true.
Accurate.
I'm going to be doing my absolute darndest this week to try and not play Assassin's Creed Odyssey because that game's looking real good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm intrigued. We shall we shall see. But anyway, we could talk about these games all night if we had the time, but we do not. We should call it quits there. But thank you everybody once again for listening. Hope you've enjoyed the show. We'll be back again with more fun and action of the peak season next week. Until then, thanks for listening. Good night.
Good night.
Bye. The Party Loaded podcast is a Channel Endgame production. For this and more great gaming content, bookmark channelendgame.com.